1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? My name is Rocky Mr. Magic. I am the original Jeek, and this is the original Jeek podcast. On behalf of my co-host who's not with me today, Unique DNA, we want to welcome you to the show and hope each and every one of you out there in Jeek Nation are having a wonderful day. I'm excited because I have another guest with me, and this is a first-time guest as well. I've been trying to get this guy on my show pretty much since I met him about 2 years ago, as we were both guests on a particular episode of the Nerd of Godcast. I'm going to introduce to you the one, the Christian nerd, Scotty Higa.
I really have doomed myself by introducing myself every time as the Christian nerd. I don't even know why I say it that way, but that's whenever I started the podcast, that's how it came out of my mouth. And so I get to forever have that definite article.
It works. I mean, as much as I hate them as a Michigan Wolverine, I hate the Ohio State, but they are the Ohio State.
The Ohio State, yeah.
The Christian nerd. It works. It makes sense. No one out there else has that tagline. So
someone tried. I've shared this story on a couple different podcast appearances, but I bought the Christian Nerd in 2011 or the end of 2010. And then like 4 years later, someone messaged me on Facebook and he's like, "Hey, I was going to start a website like yours, but I was going to call it Christian Nerd. Is that okay?" It's like, no, that's not okay. So I went and I bought that domain very quickly. I was like, you can't. I thank you for asking, but you can't. So no. So I bought that.
Like the dropping off is really going to make that big of a difference.
Yeah,
like, come
exactly.
On, bro.
It's like people still know it's Ohio State when you don't say the Ohio State. You know.
Exactly. Oh
so, yeah.
Wow.
So I appreciate him asking, and then I went to GoDaddy very quickly and snatched that one up.
Right, the gall of some people, man. Wow.
I think he was Canadian, so he was very polite in asking.
Well, of course.
Yeah, of course. And I think before I even responded, I went and bought it just in case he was.
Just in case he was on the low sitting there trying like, okay, do I buy this domain now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh man. Well, being that you mentioned that you have the domain of the Christian Nerd, Scotty, before we get started, why don't you share with our listeners how they could find you and your content out there on the web?
Oh, you can go to The Christian Nerd or actually christiannerd.com. It'll take you to the same place. And that's where you can find my podcast, 6 years of blog posts that I wrote from 2011 to 2016, as well as all my Twitters and Instagram and all that stuff. Just so thechristiannerd.com.
Awesome.
That's the way to get all that stuff.
If you love to hear nerdy stuff with a touch of Jesus, the Christian Nerd podcast is a great listen.
Thank you.
I just listened to your last one on the driving my daughter to volleyball yesterday, actually.
It is a family-friendly show sometimes.
Yes, it is.
It's like I don't curse or anything, but sometimes, like what? Like there was one episode I had a guest on and we ended up talking about her husband's dead grandma's spoon collection, which I made a bunch of crack jokes about. So, so family friendly in that there's no, graphic or gratuitous conversation, but sometimes you know how it goes when you're hosting.
I know how it goes.
You just get off the rails, and then when you say get off the rails, you start talking about cocaine again, and you're like,
right?
How am I talking this? Like I don't do drugs, yet I'm talking this much about doing drugs.
Right. You know what? Look, we're both friends with the bros of the Infinity Bros universe, so we both know things can just get off the rails and just go all types of places when
Absolutely.
when you
Sometimes
communicate with guys like that.
that's podcast magic though. Thinking
Yeah,
those moments when
absolutely.
things get off the rail.
Yeah. It's that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely.
All right. So I did not prep Scotty for this, but as a frequent listener to his show, and had previously been on shows for him, generally those who listen to the Original Jeek podcast know that I normally have a little Q&A for my first time guests so that you and me actually can get to know them a little bit better. But since I know Scotty a little bit, I'm going to skip that just because I know so much. I know I know about his beautiful kids. I know about his work, his show, his work at his church. And one thing that Scotty and I both have a lot in common is one of our mutual favorite shows, not even just sci-fi shows, but
Yep.
shows, is the reimagined Battlestar Galactica.
Oh, I thought we were going Star Trek.
No, I mean, Star Trek is, to me, Star Trek is the GOAT, and everything spurns off of Star Trek. But
BSG is good. So
BSG is, I mean, it's an annual watch for me. It is fantastic. So
have you watched New Trek? Like, did you watch this week's episode of Lower Decks?
I am behind on my Lower Decks. I am behind on Strange New Worlds.
Oh my gosh, Strange New Worlds is so good.
I know. But I'm behind. I've caught up. I've caught up on Discovery. I've caught up on Picard.
I'm still 2 episodes behind on Picard because I wasn't enjoying it very much, so I still have the last 2 episodes to watch.
Yeah,
the second season.
That second season, man.
I just got to power through because the 3rd season starts in February. So between now and
same here. I was like, I started this. I've gone so long. I've got to finish this. Like,
yeah.
But that second season, I was struggling. But I am behind on Lower Decks.
It's not spoilers, but they go to Deep Space Nine in this week's episode of Lower Decks, and it is just,
oh my god.
Oh my goodness! Just go watch that episode. It's so great. It's so.
And
great.
DS9 is my second favorite Trek show. Like, I love DS9 so much.
So good.
Oh, it's.
But we weren't going to talk about Star Trek.
We were going to talk about Star Trek. But oh my god, no! I
this is why people have me on their show, because I totally just like, I go into host mode and I like, hey, what's going on? Like, speaking of Nerd Godcast, I listened to the first episode that I was on, and I totally hijacked the episode. I just start asking questions of everybody on their panel, like I'm the host. And I texted Tony, I was like, I'm really surprised you had me back, because I took over about 15 minutes of your show just asking questions of your crew that I wanted to know.
Right. No, I did that my first time on the Affinity Bros podcast, and I kind of felt bad. I said something to Max. I'm like, yeah, I really like you were trying to host, and I was just like, yeah, I'm the host now. Like, look at me, Max. I'm the host now. Like, it was.
Well, that's Max on any episode of anything that he's on. He has to be in charge. So
he has to be the voice with the most. Absolutely. So I have a quiz.
Okay.
I have a quiz from Woke Culture.
Woke Culture?
Yeah, a What Culture Battlestar Galactica quiz.
Okay.
I want to see how you do here.
It's been a while since I watched it, and I don't actually know if I've rewatched the entire thing. So I'll do my best.
Okay.
And I won't cheat.
Question number 1. This one should be a little easier. This is the throwback one. When did the original Battlestar Galactica show air? Was it 1978? Was it 1978?
Okay.
1987, 1995, or 2004?
Oh, 78.
78 is correct.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was going to be like 1978, 1979, 1980. But yeah, so it says in my head, it's like, oh, it's 79 or 78. So 78. I do remember watching that because they used to show reruns of it on the Sci-Fi Network, the Sci-Fi Channel, when I was growing up. And so I used to watch it all the time with freaking Face and Jane Seymour. Oh my goodness.
Seymour, yeah. But long before Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman.
Moffat, and it was not that good, but it was so good.
You know, I'm surprised I am the Battlestar fan that I am, because the first Battlestar I watched because of reruns on Sci-Fi was Battlestar 1980.
1980. Oh, I don't think I've ever watched that.
So bad. It's so terrible. But somehow I was already a sci-fi nerd. I was already I was a 3rd generation Trekkie behind my grandmother and my mother. I was already into Star Wars, so I was already head first into sci-fi. So I was like, give me all of it. And
I think
even
we're about
as-
the same age, right, Matt? I think we're
yeah,
we're
you
I just turned
turned
41.
yeah, you
So
just turned 41. I turned 40 this spring. So yeah,
okay, yeah. So same everything. We were all watching
exactly.
the same cartoons, 1980s.
Yes,
All right, perfect.
absolutely. So
All
that
right,
so
so
when
I'm 1 for 1 on this Battlestar Galactica quiz. I'm
one
ready.
for one. Question number 2. Which Christian subsect theology played a part in the original Battlestar Galactica? Was it Mormonism, Eastern Orthodoxy, Roman Catholicism, or Protestantism?
Probably Mormonism,
Mormonism is correct.
because they're trying to find a place to call home,
That's right.
much like Joseph Smith and his Latter-day Saints.
Yes. And then he found Utah.
And the Cylons was everybody in Ohio
Right.
who were trying, or Illinois, trying to kick him out.
Yes. Everybody in Ohio, or Columbus and Cleveland specifically, are the evil Cylons.
Yep.
If you wear scarlet and gray and cheer for the Ohio State, you are an evil Cylon. Just FYI.
Is Jim Harbaugh still the coach at Michigan?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah, Jim's. I love Jim. I'll never hate Jim. He's doing better. Last year, we made it to the college football playoff and won the Big Ten, so things are good. But Jim's a character.
I mean, from his time at Stanford out here, obviously I know about him, and then 49ers, and just my father-in-law went to Michigan State, so I have no affiliation or love for either, but I'm not like, how down with the blue, go Sparty. It's
actually so my situation is tough because being a Midwesterner, most people in my family and friends have allegiance with some Midwestern school, and Big Ten football is not like a fandom.
Mhm.
Big Ten football is a way of life. So like we are currently in week 4 or 5 of the college football season. Most of my family, we don't talk during the college football season. My mother is a proud Michigan State Spartan. My uncle John played tailback at University of Wisconsin. My cousin Kevin is played wide receiver at Ohio State. We have tons of Big Ten allegiances throughout my family. So it gets ugly during this time of year. So last year I called my uncle after Michigan beats Wisconsin, and I'm talking my smack. My mother calls me after Michigan State upsets Michigan on a last second play, and she's talking her trash. And then my Wolverines win the Big Ten championship, so I'm calling everybody and I'm talking trash. Like, yeah. And then there's my father, who he went to a small school. He went to a small D2 school called Grand Valley, which is really good football wise for D2. And he's just like, he's like, I'm not in this. Like, he steps out of it.
Well, I'll step into all your Big Ten love in 2024 when UCLA and USC join the Big Ten,
which I'm still in shock about. Like, and I wanted to talk about that, and I wasn't able to record an episode. The fact that 2 of the biggest names in the Pac-12 are coming to the Big Ten, and that they initiated it, is like it's good. It's the first super conference. Like, this is insane.
I mean, it all goes back. I mean, I listen to one sports talk show, Petros and Money, here in LA, and it's great. And so they like super deep on it. Petros Papadakis played at USC's Pac-12 guy.
Yeah.
And it all goes like Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, destroyed the Pac-12 when they set up the Pac-12 network and didn't have partnership with ESPN or CBS or NBC.
Right.
And they went on their own. I mean, I live in Southern California, and you cannot get the Pac-12 network. So if you wanted to watch, I think last weekend it was UCLA, whoever they were playing, or USC versus Oregon State, you couldn't watch it because on Pac-12 network, and they have zero carriage. And so, so everyone, like, I have a good friend, he works at Washington State, and like people are pissed at USC and UCLA because they up and left. Like, it's not their fault. It's the Pac-12's fault that I mean, states like Michigan and Alabama, like all these big schools, I mean, over 10 years, they're making $100 million in sports revenue from their TV deal, and Pac-12 schools are making $50 million. Like, you just can't make up that gap
Yeah, it's too big.
It's like you're so far by. Like it's like, oh yeah, $50 million. That's a lot of money. It's like, well, not when Alabama's making $150 million and every other
Right.
school in the SEC is making that much money. Like
Right.
you can't compete. And so every other school in the SEC has a giant new stadium, and UCLA is still flying commercial for basketball. I mean, it's ridiculous.
That's true. Yeah.
You can't make it
You
up.
can't make up that ground. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see how it works out, how they seed the divisions,
Yeah.
and then what new rivalries will come out of this super conference, because I've been wanting to see Michigan USC, for years, really go at it. The adding the legacy, the UCLA basketball legacy to the Big Ten. That's huge.
That's a great fit with all the Big Ten teams and all the Big Ten basketball tournament, and UCLA, obviously John Wooden, and the blue blood that they are. That'll be great during the basketball season. All the logistics stuff is going to be nuts, though. How do you feel?
I can't, like, I thought it was a stretch adding Nebraska in just for travel, but I mean, now we're talking about crossing the country.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine, like, Rutgers has a game against Maryland and then they have to go to SC? Like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, they're all very smart though, and there's lots of money attached to it, so I think they'll figure it out. But
like the money that they're going to get.
How do you have a track meet, right? Like it's just like all the Olympic sports that UCLA has, and like they hang their hat on that. Like it's not just about basketball; it's about their 100 national championships.
But I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, same way. Like, I mean, they're football schools, but they're always in the in March Madness. They're always in the Frozen Four.
We don't have hockey out here.
Yeah, you don't have hockey, but Michigan or Michigan State always has even if they're not team, they always have individual wrestlers in in the national scene, in wrestling, track and field. Michigan's baseball team is always out there in the College World Series mix. Like, they're very similar. So you're going to have all this increased competition on every level is going to be, and the money that they will generate is going to be sick.
Yeah.
Like
way more than freaking Pac-12. Yeah. And
billions and billions of dollars.
Like, I love the Pac-12. Like, I pay attention to Pac-12 basketball and football.
Yeah.
Like, the Pac-12 is great. It's such a great tradition. But, I didn't go to any school in the Pac-12, so I really couldn't care less about that. But just, like, man, like, I wish it could have worked that 20 years ago they could not hire Larry Scott as commissioner of the Pac-12 and be like, hey, let's do a Pac-12 network with CBS because they know how to do stuff. And Larry Scott, I mean, they were spending, I think, like $9 million a month in rent because they wanted offices in downtown San Francisco.
Wow.
For no reason.
reason.
To say we have offices in downtown San Francisco. So it's
just to flex, like, because wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm sorry, downtown San Fran office is a weak flex to me. That doesn't impress me at all.
And Nick Saban's just lighting money on fire. Like, it's just
right. And I can't stand
lighting
Saban.
money on fire and winning national championships.
I can't stand Saban so much, but that's
Smile, man.
He abandoned my Michigan State Spartans. Broke my mother's heart, broke the state's heart.
Is that when he went to Miami?
No. So he left the Spartans for LSU.
Oh, okay.
And then he left LSU after winning a national championship for the Dolphins, which was a stupid move. And then he left the Dolphins for Alabama, which was the smart move. But Saban he's not loyal to anybody but Nick Saban, and
it's worked out for him.
Yeah, it's worked out for him, but I'm not a Nick Saban fan.
Nah.
All right, now question number
three after
the Big Ten segment. That was our Big Ten segment of this episode.
Well, you said you wanted to get to it and you didn't have time, so here,
So here it is. Question number 3 is, what is Starbucks' real name?
Kara Thrace.
That is correct. I knew I didn't need to give you the options for that one.
But I always forget her name, like the actress's name. Like, I keep trying to remember.
Katie Sackhoff.
I know. I was trying to think of her in Mandalorian. Like, what's her name? What's her name? And I kept saying Kara.
You look at her. It's
not her real name.
You look at it and you say Starbucks. Like, come on.
Yeah.
No one. Yeah, it's just Starbucks. Question 4: Um, which of these characters did not appear in all 74 episodes?
Hmm.
Is it William Adama? Is it Starbuck? Is it Gaius Baltar? Or is it Sharon Valeri?
Starbuck, because she disappeared and then came back.
That is correct. Question 5: how many advanced Cylon models did the Cylons return with? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 25? Or is it 100?
12.
12 is correct.
And then there were
What
the final
major?
5.
Yes, and you have the
That
final.
was such a great moment when they're in the
The
battle.
reveal?
And, yeah, all along the watchtowers playing. Ah, that was so good. That was great TV.
That was great television. Absolutely. I
I
wasn't a fan.
Great
I-
moments.
I wasn't a fan of everybody they picked to
Mhm.
be in the final 5.
But the reveal of it was so good.
Well, the reveal was great, but to me, I don't know what Tori being part of the final 5, I did not like.
Mm.
Tori and Ellen. I was actually hoping that what they did with Ellen as far as like killing her off and then revealing, I wish they would have done that that story with Billy.
Who is Billy?
When they killed Billy Kakaya.
Oh yeah. The president's aide.
The president's aide. I wish they would have revealed, because he had been gone for a minute, and I wish they would have revealed that he was the one Cylon that they couldn't find, and the one of the final 5 that they didn't know which one, and he died earlier. That would have been a really cool twist, because I saw the Ellen twist coming. I was like, oh yeah, she is too. Like, there's no way that she and Saul are so drawn to each other constantly, whatever, that she's not a Cylon too. That was transparent to me. But if it would have been Billy, that would have been cool.
Yeah. No, that show has so many great like that. Like when the freaking Galactica jumps into the atmosphere over New Caprica. Like that's one of the top 5 moments of TV.
Down.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like that is such a, like, I remember I was watching it on DVD back in the day, because I bought the box sets, and I was just like, when binging involved watching something that you had bought on DVD, and I just remember that scene, and just
so long ago.
Just, oh my gosh, I wasn't married back then. Like, that's how long ago it was. That's crazy. Such a good show. But yeah, so I'm doing much better than I thought I was going to do so far. Actually,
you did. You're doing great. Like, this isn't a super tough quiz. Question 6: what major world event inspired the reboot of Battlestar Galactica? Was it Y2K? Was it Hurricane Gabrielle? Was it 9/11? Or the Bush administration?
9/11.
9/11 is correct. When the Cylons killed most of the humans, roughly how many got away? Was it 20,000? Was it 5,000? Was it 200,000? Or was it 50,000?
Oh, I'm trying to remember, because they kept the count, like, every time, like in the first
President Roslin
season.
had the whiteboard where she was
whiteboard.
keeping the number up. Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna say 50,000, but I'm not confident in it.
50,000 is correct.
Yes.
All right. Question 8: how many times was a reboot attempted before it succeeded? Was it 0? Worked the first time? Or was it 1 failed attempt, 2 failed attempts, or 3 failed attempts?
I have zero idea. I'll say 0.
That is incorrect. It was 2 failed attempts.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which Star Trek series made writer Ronald Moore excited for Battlestar Galactica? Was it The Next Generation? Was it Deep Space Nine? Was it Voyager? Or was it Enterprise?
Excited. Voyager?
It was Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, I was going back and forth to Deep Space Nine because I know Ronald D. Moore was super involved in Deep Space Nine, but in my head I thought maybe it was because he got to do on Battlestar Galactica what he wished they would have done on Voyager, where Voyager resets after every episode. It's like, oh, this ship spent year in hell, but it's totally fine the next week, and so that's what he liked.
Right?
Yeah, well, that's what he liked
After all
about
this
Battlestar
damage,
Galactica
it's fine.
was that everything that happened in the previous episode affected the next episode, and so, but yeah, Deep Space Nine makes sense.
Yeah. I actually thought it was Next Gen because he was a writer on Next Gen, but
yeah, I think he wrote more episodes for Deep Space Nine. He was their Klingon go-to guy.
True, and everybody knows Enterprise made nobody excited for anything. So
Enterprise, I think it's getting a little more love. I think it got a lot of undeserved. It got some of the hate it received was deserved, but some of it. I think it went a little more. It's kind of like the prequels, right?
It gets more. I'll tell you why it gets more love now. It gets more love now is because the people who are watching it for the first time, they don't remember Scott Bakula in Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap, yeah, and how great he was in Quantum Leap,
and how great he was in that, and how iconic that show was for him. Because every time most of us looked at him, we just saw Quantum Leap in playing Star Trek, and it wasn't fitting. But people who don't know him as that can watch it with fresher eyes and different eyes, and they're like, because I felt that way about DS9 when they casted Avery Brooks, and I was like, okay, and I love Avery Brooks, but I'm watching it and I'm like, well, he's clean shaven and he's got hair, where I'm used to seeing Avery Brooks as Hawk from The Man Called Hawk and from Spencer for Hire. So, and I really didn't start getting into DS9 hardcore until he shaved his head and grew the goatee back.
Oh,
and he was more like Hawk.
Deep Space Nine gets good.
Yeah, that's when he gets good.
Does Avery Brooks have a goatee? Yes. Oh, this is a good one.
Right, because he was more like Hawk than before. And not that he wasn't great initially, but he was just cooler with that look. And he had a harder edge to him, which people loved that about Avery Brooks. So,
well, wasn't that part of it that the producers didn't want to have, quote unquote, like angry black man as commander of the station. So they tried to soften him by having him have hair and no goatee. And then
and they made it, but the problem was he was too soft initially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then it's hard when he gets a hard ship and he's in a war and he's a goatee and he shaves his head. Man,
exactly.
That's the Captain Sisko we deserve.
Oh, but you know what? It's still one, even though he was clean shaven, him punching Q was still one of the dopest moves moments in Star Trek.
Picard never punched me.
Picard never punched me. I am not Picard.
So good.
All right, question 10 before we get back onto a Star Trek rant. What is the ancestral homeworld for the people of the 12 colonies? Is it Earth? Is it Delphi? Is it Caprica? Or is it Cobol?
Earth. No.
Incorrect. It is Cobol.
Cobol. That's right.
Yes,
yeah,
the
that's
12 colonies left Cobol, and the 13th colony went to Earth.
Yeah, that's right. As I was saying, like, that's not right. I'm dumb. Cobol's last theming, where they show up and they see all the stuff, and and they have the vision of the baby and the thing.
Yep.
And that little like wah, 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 plays in the background.
Yeah, exactly. And we have all the many Gaius Baltar visions on Cobol, where he's in the opera house.
Yep.
And how crazy is that Gaius Baltar played Picard's dad?
That was when I saw him, I was like, dang it, he still looks good. But yeah,
that was just like, oh, it's like, okay, that's a weird moment for me. Okay. Number 11. How many actors have been in every single episode? Is it 5? Is it 6? Is it 7? Or is it 8?
5?
Close. It is 6.
6. Who is it?
I randomly guessed. I randomly guessed on that one and was right. It doesn't say which 6 they are, but I'm pretty sure the 6 that are in every episode are
Adama,
Our Adama.
President Rosalind.
Yeah, Adama, Rosalind. I want to say Apollo.
Yeah.
Um,
Probably Trisha Helfer.
I was gonna say I want to say 6. But who else?
Boomer and
Oh,
Baltar. 'cause
and
that,
Baltar.
that list you said, it had Adama, Boomer, and Baltar. So
Yeah, and Boomer and Baltar would be because and this the actor because the actress played how many different
yeah.
Cylon versions of herself. Same with
Mhm.
Trisha Heffler. So it was got to be pretty easy for them to be in every episode.
Yeah.
Question
Now
12.
you make me want to go back and watch this show, man.
Good, because it's an amazing show.
It is.
Question 12. Why was the word frack used so heavily? Is it because Ronald Moore invented it? Or to give an alien feel to swearing? Or the actors like saying it? Or lastly, to bypass censorship restrictions?
Feels probably to bypass censorship restrictions.
That's correct.
And then when somebody actually talks about actual fracking in the world, like drilling, I just giggle.
Me too.
We've got this fracking problem. Like, what's the problem? Like, we're trying to drill
what do you
into
mean?
the
What's the problem? It's a fracking problem. Well, okay. Well, but what is your problem? The problem is fracking. Who's fracking? What?
What's on second? Frack's on first.
Question 13. One person who used frack a lot. What was Kara Thrace by the end of the series? Was she an angel or a human? Or was she a half Cylon? Or is it unconfirmed?
I feel it's unconfirmed, but I think she was an angel.
It is unconfirmed. But angel is the prevalent theory.
And then she just disappears on not Earth, whatever the planet they found that wasn't Earth.
The renamed Earth, yes,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be our Earth.
Our Earth.
Yes. Question 14. How many spin-off series / movies does the show have? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Or is it 5?
I don't know, like, what do they count as a spinoff? Because there's Caprica, then there was Razor, but Razor was kind of like a TV movie, and then there was The Plan. So I'd say like 2 or 3, depending on how they count Razor.
Well, I would count. I mean, when you go to buy it, you have to buy Razor separately. So I would consider Razor separate.
I'd say 3.
Okay.
Is there another TV show that I'm missing? I don't know. I'll say 3.
You'll say 3? Okay.
Yeah.
According to the quiz, you are correct, and I guessed 3 myself initially. However, it is 4. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I guessed 4 initially because there is Caprica, there's Razor, there's The Plan, and there's Blood and Chrome.
Blood and Chrome, that's the one that I was not thinking of.
So if you said 3 or 4, I would have said correct because I'm guessing I don't know what they're not considering Blood and Chrome. I guess because it was a special and not like a full movie or a full series. But so
did you watch Caprica? I never did.
I did. It was weird. It was not very good. And I don't think it helped with the mythos at all. How they went about creating Cylons, and what led up to it. Like it was weird. Eric Stoltz was great in it. I thought he was fantastic.
They didn't replace him with Michael J. Fox.
They didn't replace him with Michael J. Fox this time. But he did great. But and then there were so many BSG minor characters, the actors of minor characters that showed up, like the woman that played Kat, she showed up, and a couple others I'm trying to remember now, but there were multiple small, minor character actors and actresses that appeared in Caprica, and a couple of them appeared also in Blood and Chrome as different characters as well. So that kind of like when the story timelines are so close, I'm like, yeah, you really can't be playing multiple people like that. But yeah, that kind of also threw me off. So I'm like, what is Kat doing here? And I'm like, wait, no, she's not Kat. She's somebody else. Yeah. I would not recommend spending time watching Caprica.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it was, yeah. The only thing that was kind of interesting was learning more about the Adama family background, and learning more about Bill Adama's father and like, how he was as an attorney. But which was weird because like I'll spoil it for you because I wouldn't recommend watching it. But like not only was his dad an attorney, but he was like he was like a mob attorney.
Oh, okay.
So like, and like apparently everyone from Toron were like dirty, like they were like, there apparently was like a very dusty planet, so everyone made fun of them because they were dirty and they were from the dust or something. And so it was it had very yeah, I can't even say like Italian mob style, but it was definitely very mobbish, maybe like more Eastern European mob vibes. And yeah, I was just like, this is weird. And then then he had his son, and then the son died. I'm like, well, how did this son die? And apparently Bill had an older brother that died, and then his dad hooked up with his secretary, and that was Bill's mom. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, but the first kid was named William. So you're watching the show and you're thinking this is a young Bill Adama, but he dies, and then his dad hooks up with another woman, has another child, and names him William too. It's like, what?
Let's try that again. They rebooted. Like, let's reboot this.
They rebooted. I'm like, well, so William 1 wasn't good enough. Now we've got William 2. Like it's like you buy a dog and that dog dies, so you buy the same breed, looks alike, and you name it, Spot 2. Like what? Yeah, that was terrible. And one of the many reasons why Caprica did not get renewed. It was hot. It was a hot mess. Question number 15. Final question. Where did the inspiration for Cylons come from? Was it from Germanic mythology, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, or Celtic mythology?
Celtic? I have no idea.
It came from Norse mythology.
I guess, I don't know. They don't really look like Vikings, but I'll take it.
They don't look like Vikings to me either, but and they certainly don't behave from any of the Norse mythology that I've learned. But
it's what the internet said, so it's probably right.
Yeah, I'm no expert, so yeah. Woke culture has never been wrong before, so we're gonna take the math correct on that. And Reese Snaith, who contributed in creating that quiz.
So yeah, now I just want to go watch Battlestar Galactica. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome
to the list of things that I want to watch but don't get to watch.
Hey, everybody's got to have a long list of things in their queue. I mean,
I literally have a long list in my phone, and I just keep adding to it, and it makes me sad every time. I just keep adding things to it and don't check anything off. It's the worst.
You should see my anime to watch queue. It's insane. But
yeah, if I don't watch anime, I haven't watched anime yet, so that helps that I don't have.
You haven't watched? I've been watching anime since the 80s. You didn't grow up watching Superbook and Flying House?
Nope. That is so. We all have blind spots as people, but as nerds, I think we all have to have our own blind spots. We can't watch everything. Anime is a massive blind spot. Like, I don't even watch anime light. Like, I've never even watched Avatar, and I know that doesn't actually count. Like, I've never watched Avatar. So I'm looking at my list. I have Neon Genesis Evangelion on my list of anime to watch, and I think that's it. That's all I have on my list for anime to watch. Just because I think I would like to watch, what's the one with the giants that eat people?
Attack on Titan.
I would like to watch Attack on Titan.
Just the shirt I'm wearing right now.
Oh, is it? Nice. So I would like to watch that, but I've also never finished the Clone Wars, and I really like Star Wars, and so it's just
Oh wow.
there's just not enough time. You know how it
There's
is.
so
You
not
got
enough time.
you got kids. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I do know what it's like.
Let's just be dads complaining. That's also a good podcast.
Yes,
Dads
that's
complaining
true. Dads
about
complaining.
being tired and not having time to do the things they want to do.
Well, the thing is, I have older kids. Two of my two oldest are grown now, and so they'll be watching anime and stuff that I want to see, and then they're like, "Dad, have you seen this?" And I'm like, "Bruh, I ain't got time. Like, no, I haven't seen this yet." They're like, "Oh, One Punch Man, you gotta watch One Punch Man," and I'm sitting there like, this is my fault, because the reason why they're into anime is because of me. This is all my fault.
Yeah.
And they keep hitting me up on anime that they've seen and they love, and I'm just like, yeah, I haven't seen it yet. How? And they look at me like, like Kanye, how, Sway? How? I'm just like, you have 3 sisters still at home. I still got to take care of, and kind of need to feed people and all types of other things. Like, I would love, if I could get paid to sit home and watch and review anime, that's all I would do. But
someone got to go to work and buy toilet paper.
It's not happening yet. So no one's paying me yet. Start paying me to watch and review anime, and you will get me watching all the anime that I possibly can. All the sports anime, all the slice of life anime, all of it. And I'll start watching Korean dramas again. And, I love the K-dramas. All right. So I would ask at this time of the show, I would ask Scott what he's playing and watching on TV. But since we're going to be talking about watching, I'm going to skip that segment here and go straight into a little bit more of a sports-related topic. Not as deep as I wanted to, because we spent half that time talking Star Trek and the Big Ten and Battlestar Galactica. But Scotty is a Golden State Warriors fan.
GSW hoops.
And I'm curious, because from my understanding, you've been in the LA area your entire life. How did you become a Dubs fan?
Well, I technically I am a Midwest boy, much like yourself. I was born in Chicago, but I lived there for only 3 years. My dad was going to school out there at that time, so moved back to California. So, but I did bring with me, I love the Chicago Cubs. I'm probably a bigger Cubs fan than I am a Warriors fan. Like, it's harder now because they've sucked for a while since 2016. But
you should be, as a Cubs fan, you should be ecstatic.
I'm still, like, literally, I never thought they would win the World Series. So when they did, everything from this point on in my Cubs fandom is gravy. But,
because people lived and died as Cubs fans and never saw them win the World Series.
So I'm good. I'm good. I mean, it sucks that I paid for MLB.TV to watch the Cubs, and I watched maybe about 3 weeks worth of baseball, and was like, well, that was a waste of $120. Yeah,
playoff hopes are over.
I watched 7 baseball games and spent $120, so I don't even want to figure out the math on how much I spent to watch each of those 7 games. But I love the Cubs. So I should have been a Bulls fan, because I was born in Chicago, but I wasn't into the NBA in the 90s when the Bulls were winning. So legitimately, what happened is about 2010, 2011, 2012, I used to be really into the NFL, fantasy football, loved the Chicago Bears. But I started getting turned off by football because of all, like, the CTE stuff. Like, it just felt a little icky, like watching, like, being entertained and caring more about who got my fantasy football points than this week Tua Tagovailoa. Like, his career might be over because they checked him, quote unquote.
They cleared him when that man clearly had a head injury 5 days before.
Yeah. So that's pretty rough. And then and, like, I know there's bad guys in the NBA, there's bad guys in baseball, but when Greg Hardy, like, there's, a police report of him throwing his girlfriend on a bed covered in guns.
Yes.
And then he gets a job. Like, so that, like, it was just hard to reconcile those things. And if people love the NFL, that's fine. I'm not like, how dare you? But for me, it's like, time to get out.
It turns you off. It makes sense.
Yeah. I like to tell people that it was all the Colin Kaepernick stuff. And they're like, just kidding. That didn't bother me at all. Cause they get, we were beforehand.
They want to feel justified. Like, yeah, you don't like Cap either.
Yeah, you get him for peacefully protesting. Let's not get into that.
Wait till they hear your thoughts on the Black Mermaid.
Ah! Oh my gosh, how stupid can people be? Oh my goodness. We met Matt in the throes of 2020, so it was a breath of fresh air to be on podcast together with somebody who also was just shaking their head at the world. So I was out on the NFL, and like there's a giant gap in my sports schedule. So like, man, I made a decision. I want to get into the NBA.
Okay.
And so I need to pick a team. It wasn't going to be the Lakers because that's
cliche.
Too cliche. And at that point, the Clippers were rolling with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul. So I'm like, I'm not going to get into that. And my best friend for 20 years is a diehard Clippers fan. Like he was a Clippers fan when they were bad. And so I'm like, and so I have an affinity for the Clippers because I like my best friend. But I'm like, I don't want to do that. So legitimately, I'm like, I need to pick a team. Like, I want to pick a team on the West Coast because it's easier to watch their games and pay attention when you're in the same time zone. And so I was looking at like the Trailblazers or, Suns maybe. And legitimately what sold me on the Warriors was I liked their logo. They had switched from the lightning dude back to the Bay Bridge.
Back to the city logo?
Yeah, back to the Bay Bridge. I'm like, that is a sweet logo. And so I went all in, and I'm really surprised at how easy it was because I didn't even pay for league pass back then. But it was just so easy to follow a basketball team because I just followed their beat writers, I just followed their players, and it was really, really easy to get into basketball through Twitter. And so I would just follow all the Bay Area news group guys, read all their stories, the Comcast Sports, read all their stories, watch all the highlights. And it was really, really easy to get into basketball that year. So that was about, I think, 2012 or 2011 when I got super into him, just started following him. And so I was following him. I think that was the same year that Joe Lacob bought them. And he came out and he was presenting, and they booed him. And then Chris Owens grabbed the mic and yelled at the fans. And they because I think they just traded Monte Ellis, which people were pissed about because they liked Monte Ellis. And then I think that's the same year that they traded for Bogut, which really sort of set them up for the championship run that they went on. That
was the trade, the Monte Ellis to Milwaukee trade.
Yeah.
And that trade was supposed to be Steph Curry for Andrew Bogut, but those weak ankles.
Yeah.
And Mark Jackson were like, I don't think so.
Oh my gosh. And Mark Jackson was their coach. Like, that's insane. So I made the decision. I wanted to get into basketball. They're in my time zone and I like their logo. And that was it. And so I tell people I liked them before they got good. I'm not a bandwagoner.
Which you're not, you're not lying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
true.
True.
It was legitimately, I like their logo. They're and they weren't that great. I mean,
no, they were solid, but they weren't that good. I mean, they were barely making the playoffs.
Yeah.
Before then, and then Mark Jackson came and kind of got them into the,
Yeah, so the first year I watched them, they didn't make the playoffs. Then the next year is when they had that great series in the first round against Denver. They weren't supposed to win, and then they won, and then they, got bounced by the Spurs because the Spurs were the Spurs.
The Spurs, yeah.
And then the next year they got knocked out in the first round by the Clippers, and then 2015 they won the championship.
They won it all, yeah.
Yeah. So like their logo, and it was like with Twitter and it was super, super easy to get into it just by reading.
You make a great point because the NBA, it's super easy to get into it because there's so much out there for NBA basketball. And the NBA to me is the best marketed sports league.
Yeah.
And they make it really accessible for a fan to jump onto to start a new fandom, with any NBA team.
And I think even more than the maybe not the NFL with fantasy football, but I think you can legitimately just be a fan of the association, right? You can just be a fan of the league because it's so there's so many, obviously I'm excited for the Warriors and their championship defense, but there's so many other great storylines. There's positive ones, right? Seeing what Zion Williams is going to do is great. The negative ones, what on earth is going to happen with the Nets? Like
Mhm.
it's a freaking soap opera, and I eat it up like catnip. I cannot wait to see what crazy thing Kyrie does or what crazy thing KD does. Like
Right.
how in the
Or
world do
is
you,
Ben Simmons going to play?
yeah. Like Steve Nash says, I don't care if he ever makes another jump shot. Like, what is going? Like, how do you come back and coach a team when your star player said, "I don't want you to be my coach"?
Right.
It's so good.
Is fire him or I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, never mind. I'm like,
And then, like, I'm sure you heard, like, at media day, where it's like, yeah, if there's any drama, it's because you guys are making it up. It's like, what are you talking?
what are you talking about?
KD?
I'm sorry. Did the media come up and say that you made this trade demand? No, you did. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, the NBA has, since the 80s, been full of the best storylines.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so
just
good. Like,
just across basketball, from from the Showtime Lakers to the Dynasty Celtics to the Bad Boy Pistons to the Incredibles, to Shaq and Kobe, to the Spurs, LeBron,
LeBron,
you
freaking
know,
LeBron. Oh,
like they just have. And even though I would say NFL films had a big up on the NBA just in terms of money and production value, NBA they did great with, especially in the 80s and 90s, with their home videos, because you got to learn about players from the past and the present that you could appreciate even if they weren't like the top stars.
yeah.
And they did a really great job of telling those stories, because when you listen to like players on podcasts today, like All the Smoke with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson, they will be talking about players that weren't stars all the time. They'll talk about guys who are like, this guy. I mean, the first question they ask their guests is, who's the first person to bust your butt, on the court. And many times the players are like, yeah, Jose Calderon.
Yeah.
I think Kyrie was like, Jose Calderon dropped like 30 on me. And the average fan does not know who Jose Calderon is.
Yeah.
But players appreciate, they're like, this guy who people think is a bum, and like who the talking heads were like, this guy was terrible. They're like, no, this guy could play, and he was here because he can play. It's like Carlos Arroyo tore me up. It's not always some Hall of Famer gave me the business. It's like, Charles Barkley talks about how Popeye Jones used to just tear him up. He's like, I don't know why I can't stop this guy. This guy can't score 5 points against anybody else, but he's giving me 20. Or Shaq is like, Big Country Reeves was killing me. He's like, I don't understand why I can't stop Big Country. He's the biggest, slowest white boy out there, but I can't stop him.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, it's such a cool sport to because you can jump right in, and
that's one of the fun things
accessible.
about having been a fan of a team for a long time, right? Like I just think about, like obviously the current iteration of the Warriors, but you think about, the championship team, but like just a random guy in my head, like Carl Landry. Like, why do I remember Carl Landry from the 2013 team that played the Nuggets, right? But I do. And Draymond Green says, like, Carl Landry was my vet. Like, there were other people trying to be it, but Draymond said, I picked him because I didn't care what David Lee had to say. Like, David Lee, totally just random, but like he was on that first championship winning team. Like, he was their superstar.
He was their big get because he was a 2-time All-Star for the Knicks, and then he was like their big get. Yeah.
And just, it's like, oh, but we have this guy named Steph Curry, and like you said, his light bulb ankles, and they figured it out, and oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, the NBA is great.
It's sad that unfortunately you weren't a Warriors fan in the late 80s and early 90s for Run TMC.
Oh, I know, right? I missed that. Like,
because as a Piston fan, I loved Run TMC. Like, watching them play was so fun.
Yeah, or the 08 We Believe, where they took out
the We Believe team,
the Mavericks,
when they beat the Mavs, and BD threw that dunk down on AK-47. I was just like, and I'm a big Baron Davis fan, and I was like, I loved that We Believe team.
Yeah,
I mean, even now, that's still my favorite Warriors team. Like, Captain Jack,
but
and
like,
Matt
and that's the
Barnes.
thing, like you get steeped in those things like over the court, because like I'll read stories, I'll read columns about them, and like they reference these things, and so you just just sort of pick up on it. Like, oh yeah, like I probably, because I would watch the NBA playoffs before I was really into the Warriors. I mean, mostly watching a ton of Lakers games because one of my good friends was a big Lakers fan, and it was like it's just the thing to do in LA. Like when the Lakers are in the playoffs, you watch.
It's the hottest ticket in town. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't go there. Gosh, it's so expensive. But I did. I had a friend who his company had seats, and so last season I actually got to go watch a Laker. I got to see LeBron play in person, which was a cool bucket list item to check off. So I don't know if it'll happen again. And I got to see him like on a breakaway dunk. I'm like, holy crap! I just saw LeBron James on a breakaway dunk. It was pretty sweet.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So love me the NBA. I'll share. I love No Dunks. It's an athletic podcast. It was the starters. Was the Basketball Jones. My favorite NBA podcast. I think that's what I like about something like that is it keeps me abreast of like everything happening in the league because it's pretty easy. So I would say for baseball, I'm very much focused on the Cubs and the Dodgers because I live in LA. But with the NBA, it's like I really know about the Warriors, but I have a general understanding of
affinity for the league
what's going on
itself.
in the league because of the podcasts that I listen to and the Athletic, again, not a plug, but I love the Athletic. It's I think there's always great deals. I think right now I'm paying $1 a month for 6 months, and it's great content and super great to check out. And the Athletic Bay Area was one of the second cities that they started, so they had a ton of Warriors coverage when they first got going, and they still have great Warriors coverage. So I love the NBA. I'm really excited that we're it's October now. This is recording this, so this month the NBA is going to be back. And even the Warriors had their first preseason game in Japan 2 nights ago. So just getting to see like highlights of like, oh, they're playing basketball again. It's great.
So can they repeat? That's the big question. Can they win another championship?
Anything is possible. I mean, so Steve Kerr's talked about they have their foundational 6, right? So they have Steph, Clay, Draymond, Kevon Looney. Who am I missing in that?
I would have to figure they added
Andrew Wiggins. Sorry, yeah. Andrew Wiggins. Yeah, duh.
Wiggins has got to be part of that.
So good. Oh my gosh, he was so good. Andrew Wiggins and then Jordan Poole. Like right there, their foundational 6. And you throw those 6 out there and in the playoffs, rotations get shortened. You can't just play with 6 people. You got to play with at least 8 or 9 in the playoffs. But with those 6, anything's really possible. And then it's really just a matter of, because they lost Otto Porter Jr., who was great, but that's what happens. Like all these vets come and get the 1-year deal and then go off because
but Otto, unfortunately, he's Otto. He's inconsistent. So,
but he was so much more consistent last year in the role that he had, and he was great. Like he was playing backup center some minutes, so he was great for the Warriors.
True.
Lost Gary Payton II, who was so much fun to watch, and their 15th guy on the roster, and all the vets last year during training camp, they wanted Avery Bradley, but really it was Bob Myers and Steve Kerr who pushed for Gary Payton II. And Avery Bradley was on the Lakers, not playing very well, and Gary Payton II became like an awesome
became that defensive stopper that they wanted Avery to be. Yeah, absolutely.
And who could play above the rim at 6'4" as a 6'4" guard, was playing above the rim.
Guy,
was so great. So they lost, those 2. I'm blanking on his name. He was he was a foreign player. Why can't I remember his name? Help me out here, Matt.
the European cat.
Belly.
Yeah. What is his name?
I don't know. I can just
remember. I know. I can see his face, but now I don't know. Now I forget his name. But yeah, the European guy.
Goodness. Now I got to look it up.
Yeah, and I got to go to Basketball Reference because I know exactly who you're talking about, but I'm drawing a blank on his name.
And I want to say Andres Biedrins, but that's not it.
No, Biedrins was the We Believe team.
Yeah, I know. Like, oh my goodness. Okay, Warrior stats.
And it's definitely not soon as Marshallonis.
This is great podcasting. Nemanja Bjelica. That's who it was.
That's right. Yes.
Bjelica. Lost him. So yeah, I think so it really comes down to they've got all these young cats that they were able to draft when they weren't good, right? So they have Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody. They've got their new ones and Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins. Probably won't play as much. I think honestly, I think it comes down to James Wiseman. How is he? Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. If he has a really, not even a really good season, but just a a serviceable season as a backup center where he can simplify things on the offensive end. If 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 James Wiseman does well, I think they've got a really good chance. And I think Moses Moody, and they're already leaning on Moses Moody a lot because they sort of see him like Jonathan Kuminga's kind of like a fun toy with a giant ceiling, and he can do some great things. But Moses Moody, I mean, I don't know the team, but like from what I know of Steph and Draymond and Andre, like Moses Moody is the kind of player that they want, where he's smart and he's not going to blow up a defensive assignment. Like that's kind of what they want out of their rotational players, is like, don't mess up your defensive assignment. Like we've got Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. We don't need you to worry about offense, but be where you're supposed to be.
Right.
Like make the smart play every time, and you're in with that foundational six. So I think
and Moody's also important just because even though yes they still have Klay Thompson, Klay is not the same player he was pre Achilles, pre ankle and knee. Yeah. So they even though he can still produce, they're going to need more. You know, they still have Poole, but they're going to need more of a punch than they did before, just because Klay unfortunately isn't going to. His ceiling has already been hit, so they need more balance from him. But the team is still they still look scary. I mean, they made some moves I don't understand. I don't understand signing Mac McClung.
I don't think I think he's a non-roster invitee. Like I don't think he's not on the team.
I don't think he's going to last. But I don't understand picking up him or Dante DiVincenzo. I don't. I'm just like, I just scratched my head on that. But JaMychal Green, very a serviceable vet, and Wiseman, like you said, if the thing about Golden State right now, when you talk about their foundational six, is they're all really good, but everybody except for Looney is small, and Looney himself is a undersized center at 6'9". Technically, he's a power forward that plays center. Yeah. So if Wiseman, who is a legit 7 foot, if he can make the turn and really become a legitimate threat, then it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you guard this team when they have a legitimate post threat in Wiseman at 7 foot, where you have to send a double team, but you don't want to send a double team because you can't leave Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole open to shoot shots.
Jordan Poole was so much fun to watch, like especially in like the first 2 rounds when Steph was hurt. Jordan Poole was so great to watch in the playoffs last season.
No, Jordan Poole is fantastic for me because as a Michigan fan, he was good at Michigan, but I did not. Nobody
did you have any
saw
idea
this.
This was coming? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, no one saw this coming from Jordan Poole at Michigan.
I mean, even 2 years ago when he was sent down to the G League bubble, like they weren't sure if they saw some. Like he did the work, man, and he figured it out, and he's just he's little Steph Curry out there. He just figured out how to play the same game. It's unreal.
And he fits with them so well. It's just like I don't know if he would have the same success in the other squads. He really is a great fit there.
Yeah,
with that squad.
But if they don't pay him, I mean, I was listening to the No Dunks. They're saying like friggin' the Magic would happily just give me.
Orlando would definitely take him.
Here's $100 million for 5 years, or 4 years, because his skill set, it's what people want. Like he's instant offense and he's efficient offense. Like when Andre Iguodala, they were saying, look at what Jordan Poole did. He's like, well, he didn't get at the free throw line. Like really just like digging at it a little bit. But then he's getting to the he was the best free throw shooter in the league last year. He was better than Steph Curry, which is
percentage wise. Yeah.
Percentage. So I'm excited for the season. I don't know. Again, like last season's championship was so unexpected. I mean, they started out pretty well. I think they started out 18-3.
It was unexpected. I mean, no one saw Wiggins doing what he did because of the years of mediocrity in Minnesota. No one foresaw Poole's explosion. And those two don't play the way they play. They don't win.
Oh yeah, no way.
And they were looking pretty average until things started to click. And then when things started to click and Poole got that playing time with Steph being hurt and Klay
at the end of the season when Steph was hurt, it all clicked. 18 started out I think 18-3 and then hit a lull. Draymond got hurt, Steph got hurt. all the
Yep.
stuff like, is Clay going to come back? And, like all that stuff around Christmas time. And yeah, they were just kind of middle of the pack. They were happy with the 3 seed, I think. And then, yeah, I think it was like it wasn't until the playoffs that Steph, Draymond, Clay were all starting at the same time. It was
Pretty
the
much.
first time in the playoffs. And then, just again, I'm super biased, obviously, towards the Warriors, but I think people write about it. But the fact that your best player, Steph Curry, is also the best person on your team, I think sets a lot of what happens for the Warriors and why they've been so successful. Is that he leads by example. He was voluntarily coming off the bench in the playoffs so that Jordan Poole could start. I think that's can you imagine Kyrie doing that? Like and James Harden, not all.
Most of the time your big star is not going to say, play me off the bench.
Yeah. So when your best player is also the best person and sets that tone, then how could anybody complain about coming off the bench if Steph Curry is coming off the bench? It's like, you can't do it. And so I think that helps their, kind of their culture a lot. I think Steph Curry sets a lot of that. And again, super biased. I only know what I see on social media, so he could be a horrible human being. But he's kind of like one of those ones, right, where you pray, you're like, dear Jesus, let this one be the real deal. I don't want it coming out that he's having an affair. Just let him be the real deal, Jesus. Let it be Steph Curry. Let him please be the real deal, because that'll make the heart happy. It's like, right, you pray it's like, dear Jesus, don't let Andy Stanley fall. All these other pastors can fall, but as long as Andy Stanley stays, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Just the things to pray for and hope for.
Yeah, the little things. I don't ask for much, but please let it be.
Let Steph Curry be the real thing.
Let it be real with Steph Curry with the shot. Please, let it be real.
Yeah. So unexpected, but totally just, I think, it felt a lot. It felt more like the first one in 2015 than it did the ones with KD, because those were so expected, and I enjoyed watching those teams, and that was some beautiful basketball, watching Steph and Clay and Draymond play with Kevin Durant. It was
a cheat code, man.
It was.
It was such a cheat code. My thing was, for me, the most impressive Warriors championship is this one, because the first one, I didn't see the first one coming. And as someone who's been watching basketball his entire life, I did not believe in my lifetime that I would see a jump shooting team win the championship.
Yep. You and Charles Barkley.
I didn't believe it. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to shoot the percentage is you need to win a championship without going to the hole first. And they were able to do it. Now, granted, the rule changes help with that, but they were able to do it. Yeah. And they shocked the world. And they really changed basketball with, I give Steve Kerr this. I don't give Steve Kerr a lot of credit. I give a lot of credit to Mark Jackson, but I give Steve Kerr this thing that I know Mark Jackson, as a coach and also as a New York City point guard, would not have done, and as an old school point guard would not have done, is he would have not given Steph the green light that Steve Kerr did. He would have had a problem with Steph pulling up from 30, heat checking in the middle of a game. He would have not gone for that. Where Steve Kerr was like, if you're feeling it, shoot the ball. So I give Steve Kerr that bit of freedom allowed them to really take off. And so I really give Steve Kerr a lot of credit for that, because most coaches, they just would not allow you to be, that's an undisciplined play. So it's not a good shot. It's a low percentage shot. So that was a special thing. But this last one, man, no KD, Steph is older, Clay's coming back from the title, Draymond is not the player he used to be, and you still got it done. Yeah, against a tough Celtics team. You went through a tough a playoff run that was pretty tough against a very good upstart Memphis team.
That Memphis series, man, that was a great
scary.
Series.
They're a scary team.
Yeah,
and it's like, I'm like, okay, like, wow, this is the one I think is like, it's got to be the sweetest one in my opinion for them, because the ones with KD were just too easy. It's like, to me, that was like if Michael Jordan decide to join my bad boy Pistons
Yeah. Oh, for
and
sure.
just, it's like no one's winning. Like
Yeah.
you don't have like. Can you imagine Michael Jordan, Isaiah Thomas in the same backcourt, and Joe Dumars coming off the bench? It's like you're not scoring. You're not going to stop them from scoring because you've got, even though like they hate each other, you have probably the two most driven guards
Yeah.
in possibly in NBA history. Like these guys will kill to win.
Yeah.
And if you had them in the same backcourt, they would have won probably like 8 straight, like until someone gets hurt, seriously injured. It's like they're not losing. So KD was just, like no one was beating them. It was fun to watch because the basketball and the ball movement and the sharing was great, was fun to watch. But for me, I was kind of hoping, because I looked at KD as a number one. I didn't look at him as a number 2 guy. Like I didn't look at him as someone to come in and join someone else's team. But that's also the old school basketball fan in me.
Oh, for sure.
That is, me watching, Isaiah and Jordan go at it, and Barkley and Jordan go at it, and Dominique and Jordan go at it, and and then the Bird with the Celtics, and Magic and Kareem with the Lakers, and Patrick Ewing with the Knicks, and Shaq with the Magic, and just seeing all those. Every team at least had one star, and just watching, and everybody going at it. Where, granted, even though the old guys say they wouldn't have done it, and I think they probably wouldn't have, most of them didn't have a chance to. Like unrestricted free agency wasn't a thing until 89, when most of them had already been in the league for a while and their mindset was different. But I mean, if you told me unrestricted free agent started in the 70s and it was just a thing people did, Shaq himself was like, man, if it was a thing to do, I'd have joined the Bulls. Like, and play with Michael Jordan. Shoot, like he wouldn't have gone to the Lakers. He's like, oh, I would have gone and played with Mike and Scotty. Why not? Like, and done nothing but win. Like, if that was the mindset, if that was the trend of things to do. So the Dubs have a good chance. If Wiseman turns the corner, I don't see how anybody beats them in 7 games. Like,
I mean, if Wiseman's good, and if they stay healthy,
and obviously, Lord willing, everyone stays healthy.
And that's all I want. Like, right, that's all you want at the end. It's like just everybody be healthy, because it's so much better for basketball when everybody's healthy and everybody's playing at their best. And as a Warriors, obviously, it's like in 2016 when Bogut was hurt and Draymond got suspended. Like that just happens. Then in 2019 when Clay was hurt and then KD got hurt, it's like it's just this is
because the Raptors don't win.
No way, not at all. If KD and Clay aren't hurt, the Raptors don't win.
The Raptors don't
not hurt. If Draymond's not suspended,
if Bogut doesn't get hurt, LeBron doesn't win that championship in Cleveland. Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
So it's happened. So I think, but that's what does make last one so sweet, is that it was unexpected, and it really felt like. Before, kind of like I said, like the KD ones felt like a hired gun. It's like, hey, we've got this mercenary. We're the best team. I think they went 16-1 in 2017. Just ridiculous through the playoffs. But this went like there was adversity. They had to get past the Grizzlies. Gary Payton broke his elbow, like all that stuff that happened. So it felt like a Warriors team win. Like the other ones feel like Warriors wins, was like Warriors plus KD. This gets, strips it back to, that triumvirate of Clay, Steph, and Draymond, and just, seeing them do it. So it was a ton of fun. I remember I was in Florida visiting Tony from the Nerd Godcast and watching basketball out there. It was just a fun ride just to sit and watch basketball. And after 2 years, right, of not having that playoff and that intensity of like pacing in front of my TV, like feeling the energy and the excitement, like that's what being a fan is about.
Absolutely.
Getting to watch that. And so getting to have that, because I haven't had it for the Cubs for a couple of years, has been pretty nice. So
it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
So another great feeling that you get is you're probably the biggest Star Wars fan that I know. And Disney Plus 2 weeks ago dropped the first 3 episodes, and then this week the 4th episode of Andor. I know you talked about it a little bit on your show, but your podcast isn't long, so you really didn't go into a lot of depth into what you saw. So I'd really love to chat with you about your thoughts on these first 4 episodes. Kind of separating episodes 1 through 3 from episode 4
Yeah.
because I think the tone of episode 4 was a bit different.
Yeah.
But episode. So if you listening, you don't know, Andor is related to Rogue One, and you should recognize the actor because he was in Rogue One. But this is one of those Star Wars stories that is not going to involve, thank God, a Skywalker, and and possibly not involve. I don't know yet for sure, but I'm assuming off the tone of Rogue One that we're not really going to see any Force related things go on. We may, I don't know for sure, but the likelihood is that we're not going to see much Force related stuff in this show either, which is to me always a breath of fresh air when they're not so heavily relying on the Force.
Mm-hmm.
So episodes 1 through 3 start to really establish who this character is for you as a viewer, and then kind of kickstart the story. So, what did you think about how they set the table here with episodes 1 through 3?
I thought that, I mean, I don't know if I'm the biggest Star Wars, like I love Star Wars so much so. I mean, you know, it's about me, Matt, but like, I want to be entertained. So I'm not hypercritical about the things that I watch. It takes a lot for me to be like, oh, that wasn't very good. Like the first Suicide Squad movie, not very good. But
Yes.
Eternals, people didn't like it. I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, is it the best MCU movie? No. Was I mad
No.
that I watched it? No. Do I want to watch it again? Yeah, kind of, because there's cool stuff in it. So like, I'm very, very easy to please. So anytime I give a rating of something, I have to preface it with that because I'm not a
Yes.
very good gauge. Because as we've mentioned, we're very busy. Life is very
Yes.
hard. I'm a pastor at a church. I spend most of my life critically thinking about people's souls. So am I going to sit down and watch TV? I'm going to sit down and watch TV and be entertained. Like that's what I'm
Right.
looking for. Movies, TV, I want to be entertained. So that part about it, and all the Star Wars bros who get mad about everything because it's diverse or has women gets me going. So I go even deeper into loving something because all the Star Wars bros are like, oh, this is dumb. I hate Kathleen Kennedy because I'm a dude. Didn't make Dave Filoni do everything. Shut up.
Right.
Shut up. So that even pushes me deeper into just loving everything because I don't like the Star Wars bros. But so for Andor, what I liked about Rogue One and I like about this is that we in the original trilogy, we had such a narrow view of kind of the evil and the oppressiveness of the Empire. Because it was just like we saw the Imperial Navy. Like we saw Darth Vader in the Imperial Navy. That's all we saw. But what I love about Rogue One and what I like about Andor is you feel the weight of the Empire, of 20 years of this oppressive regime, and you just feel it. Like the people, like they're scared, they're quiet, they don't talk. Like you feel it across the board. And so that's one of the things I love most about Andor is you really kind of see what it's like for a regular person just trying to make his or her way in a galaxy far, far away, but worried because at any moment the Empire could show up and destroy everything, or strip your planet of natural resources and leave a bunch of kids fending for themselves because they just don't care. And when you see that, and this kind of gets into the 4th episode, and you sort of see the anger that people have, like the spark of a rebellion that you start like, oh, no wonder like a rebellion started because they really were angry and they felt it across a galaxy. So that's kind of the big thing that I really enjoyed about the first 3 episodes is you feel the weight of the Empire and why Andor's so angry. You're like, oh, that makes sense. Because in the original trilogy, you're just like, oh yeah, it's like a ragtag group.
No, Sky, that's a great point because I make this connection just when you're talking about that because partially because both of these are going on at the same time, but it's A New Hope. Well, the original trilogy is very much like Game of Thrones, where what you're seeing is a struggle for power amongst those at the top, the elite. You know, the Jedi are people who are elite, even though they try not to be, but they're people who can wield a magical force. So whether you think you're not or not, you're elite. Yeah. And so you're watching a struggle of people at the top, but it really doesn't have any impact on the everyday common person amongst these systems. And like with Rogue One and Andor, we are really seeing the granular level of how everyday people are affected by this.
Yeah.
Because in the original trilogy, we really don't see um how like we know life is hard on Tatooine for for Luke and Ben and Veru because they live on a dust ball and they're
Yeah,
moisture
that
farmers.
has nothing to do with the Empire. That's because you live on a freaking desert planet like an idiot. Like, right?
Exactly. It's like, why would you
Why,
live there? But like
why is
there's
life hard? Because there's no water.
because
Oh
there's
yeah,
no water.
that would make things challenging.
And there's two big hot suns up there and there's no water. Like, duh, life is hard, but there's nothing about imperial sanctions, imperial taxes. There's nothing about imperial inspections for no
Imperial
reason.
secret police, just like
An
watching
imperial
everything.
Gestapo. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says that this empire is really all that bad. As far as impacting the everyday man. And it reminds me of Game of Thrones where where Jorah Mormont is talking to Daenerys. He's like, the common man does not care what games the High Lords play. They just want to be fed. They just want, they want good weather to be fed and to be left alone.
Yeah.
And if it's an empire that's going to spurn a rebellion, especially of a mass scale, they've got to be doing something to the people. And this being shown is really, to me, a more immersive story because it's something that the common person can try to identify with. I can't identify with a laser sword wielding elite. I can't.
Yeah.
Like, it's fun, but I can't relate to that guy, But I can relate to somebody who's abusing their power in a police uniform.
Yeah.
That I can relate to.
Yeah.
And
Just
the
regular folk living their life. Like, oh, like
Yeah.
I get it now. Because I'm not going to join the rebellion. I don't have a laser sword. I'm not
Right.
a hero, maybe. But just regular folk trying to live their lives and taxes and just even seeing in the fourth episode when the Empire comes in and like says we're taking over. Like, you don't get to be corporate police anymore. It's like we're just taking over.
Right.
It's like, oh
Yeah.
man, like that's like even worse now that the Empire, like there's TIE fighters flying around now. Like, that's not good for anybody. It's
For
just
them, yeah,
like,
and
you feel people living on the edge,
Mhm.
and why, again, going to Rogue One, like, or why there's that spark, right? Why it's such a big thing that like people are living on the edge for so long they can only take so much, and now finally the Empire, the rebellions had their first win at Scarif. And it's like, oh my goodness, that's so great.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like the corporate police, like being pawns of the Empire, and just for episode 1, you see them abusing their power, and like
Oh yeah.
which honestly, I did not expect to see someone get shot in the head within the first 5 minutes of the Star
Yeah.
Wars show. I was like, oh, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you killed him, you accidentally killed him, okay, and then he was just like, I'm like,
Yep.
oh snap. Okay. Wow.
And then that adds weight, right, to when Andor when Cassian's giving a speech to Jin as they're getting ready to go to Scarif. He's like,
Right.
we're assassins, we're murderers, we're thugs, we're saboteurs. We've done all this stuff in the name of the rebellion,
Right.
and so we need to make up for it, right? And like, I love that about Rogue One. Like, you see the seedy underbelly of the rebellion, not the shining Wedge Antilles version of the rebellion. Like, you get we've done horrible things. Like, Andor shot that dude in cold blood in the head.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
in the head.
Yeah. So
And
you
looked
get
like
the
he had
feeling.
no remorse too.
Yeah, totally. So I love the way that, this thing that's been around for over 40 years now is still just like, there's more layers and there's more to it. And just Disney Plus gives an opportunity to share different types of stories. And I love, like, again, like, as a Star Wars fan, the fact that I get to watch a new, well-made, well-produced Star Wars show every week, when growing up I had a bootleg VHS copy of Return of the Jedi that had bad tracking on it. Like, that's what I had growing up, and now
Right.
I get to watch this every week. Oh my goodness. Like, you can't beat it.
I'll be the nitpicker here.
Please.
It's just I'm known for it. One thing that kind of
You're known for it, Matt, but it's not who you are. Like, there's some people who, like, to their core, they're just a critical jerk. And like,
Yeah.
you are not a critical jerk. You just have like, yeah, you have criticism. That's fine.
Yeah, I
But
have criticisms. And I try to be as objective and fair about my criticisms as I can. One thing that kind of was rough for me in the storytelling um, is when they're on what's the planet? Casaris? The planet
they're
he's from.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
All those scenes with them as children, I don't know what they're saying.
Mhm.
So like I'm struggling to have the context because I even turn the subtitles on and it just says chattering and speaking in foreign language. I'm like, well, and I'm thinking, okay, if it's one thing if it's like a 5-second flashback and what's happening on the screen is telling the story, but when they're like suiting up and they're like putting the paint on and they're having these conversations in this language, and I'm like, what are they saying? Like, I need to know what are they saying? What are they talking about? Like, and he's got his little sister and he's talking to him like, hey, it would be really great, Disney, to know what they're saying right now. Because like I understand he's looking for his sister. Okay. You're showing me him as a child with his sister as a child. It'd be really nice to know what he's saying so I can have further context on how important the sister is to him. Is it even his sister? Is it a friend he's looking for? Like I need to know a little bit more here. And then I don't get why I'm not being told what's happening in these flashbacks.
So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was great storytelling because it's kind of what you said. Because for so long in the original trilogy, we were told how bad the Empire was, and in these series, we're being shown how bad the Empire was. And I think in those scenes on their planet, I looked it up. It's a Canary.
Canary, that's right.
Yeah, they're on Canary. I think we're not being told how important we're being shown. And so I thought it was super interesting just to like, I don't know what they're saying, but you see the relationship, you know, they're going on, like they're going through their rituals. And right. It's even
Mhm.
things like they're going through their ritual. Like these are kids. It's not their rituals. It's rituals that they saw their parents go
Their
through.
parents doing, yeah.
And so even then it's like, wow, it's really, and then you see, you know, the giant strip mining operation, and then they talk about what happened on Canary. So I really enjoyed that piece of storytelling. But
Like
you know,
I got
to each their
the
own.
gist of it, but I was like, I would just like to know. I am a stickler for like subtle details. So like just a couple. It didn't have to be a lot of conversation, just a little bit here and there, you know, of like what they're saying. Because to me, if someone has a speaking part, what they're saying should be of some importance to conveying what's going on. So that's why I would like to know what they're saying. Um, but I definitely had this Red Dawn feel as they're as they're getting ready. I was like,
I didn't understand
all
anything
right.
they said, but they held up their hands and yelled Wolverine. So I did
Yeah,
understand that.
exactly.
I got that.
I got that. That
That's
was
the
the
one
part
word
I
I
got.
picked out. That's one word I picked out.
That's the one word that universally translated. Put that together. Wolverines, we gonna go fight now. Like, okay, I get that. I am very interested to see how the rest of those flashbacks turn out.
Yeah, I don't
You
even
know,
know they're gonna
and
have that. Or if they're gonna, yeah, they're gonna have some with Andor like growing up with his mom, or is that just, you know, I wonder if
right. I mean, is it? But honestly, like I don't even know if that's like his mom. I'm guessing that she may just be an adopted mom. So I didn't
yeah,
see any Canary parents. Like it looked
yeah,
like
no,
everybody was just a child. So either like that's a older child that raised him, or you know, an
no,
adoptive mom.
yeah, his adopted mom, like who took him off the planet. Like, are they
Yeah.
gonna go
Okay.
back to? Are they gonna show his life with her and how he,
Right.
you know, learns her, or is that it? Like, are there no more, like, were all the flashbacks contained in the first 3 episodes? I don't know, maybe,
Maybe. Yeah.
maybe not. But yeah, so and what I really liked about, like, the flashbacks are great, but especially in the third episode where, you know, the police force are on Ferrex, and they're
Hmm.
searching, and all the people start hitting the stuff, and like
Yes.
Marva, his adopted mom, was like, it's not like it gets to you, right? You feel the tension, and it's not the noise, it's when it stops. And
Right.
like they did, like there was so much tension building, like they're identifying this is the tension that's building, and you feel it. Like that was such a great
No,
sequence on
that
Ferrex.
was really cool, and that was really cool to me because that happens like IRL, like when the cops come to certain areas, in certain neighborhoods, you know, the locals start like they start warning everybody, hey,
Yeah.
50 was coming, and So that's a very real thing. And for them to be that organized, and generally IRL, when that happens, it's not as blatant
Mhm.
because the cops recognize it, but they were out there in front of all those police like
Yeah.
banging, and the
I guess that's what happens when your police force isn't in your like if they're from another planet. Like
right, or
right.
they don't have your best interest at heart,
Yeah.
which those corporate police clearly did not,
Yeah.
and the people were not they were not shy of warning anybody right in front of them, and that one cop who just he he couldn't let go of the murder case, and he's sitting there trying to be confused, and the tubby one is like, no, this is what they're doing. He's like, he was like, he had this irritated look, and he's like, well, what do you expect? Like, we're not good cops. We're not good people. Like, we're here because you won't let this go, even though your boss told you to let it
Yeah.
go. Because you know, I and that I kind of felt bad for that boss when he in episode 4 when he's getting yelled at
Yeah.
because he's like, he's
I didn't do
thinking to
anything.
himself,
I
I
wasn't here.
told this fool to let this go. And he knew what happened. He knew his 2 cops, tried to rob that guy,
Yeah.
and they messed with the wrong person. They picked the wrong victim. He knew, you know, they're at a brothel. They don't belong there. They're drinking alcohol that we say is illegal. It's like, come on, like, it, and you're sitting there, you're gung ho about this. Like, come on, you're picking the wrong battle here, son.
Yeah, I am interested to see what happens with I've got his name here. Karn.
Karn, yeah,
Cyril Karn. I am because because I think he went to Coruscant in the
yes.
4th episode and is to go see his mom. It's interesting to see what happens. I wonder, like, does he continue to be an enemy? Like, does he somehow join the rebellion? Is some of the feeling that I got right that he comes at it in the back end, right? That he's like, oh, I see how oppressive the Empire is now because they kicked me out of my job. So does he somehow come around? I'm really interested to see what happens to his character
See,
because he has a punchable face. Like you just
he
want to
does. Oh my
yeah.
god, he does. My instinct is that he's going to join the blonde woman from the
Oh, the
Empire,
Imperial, yeah, the
the
Imperial
Imperial,
secret
because
agent.
she's also super gung ho,
Yeah,
and I think he is gonna, try to continue to law enforce, and he will somehow fall under her, and they will work together and kind of go off the rails in their in how they distribute justice, for lack of a better description. Because I'm guessing he's going to be in the black guy's jurisdiction, but somehow he'll meet her and they'll work together. And because that dude, he's getting overthrown. I know, like he's done for.
yeah,
She's definitely going to take over his provinces and such because of her ambition and her blind, drive to do it, by their book, even though their head guy was just like, no, this is not how we operate. This is not how we do things. And you're going to come to me with something real, something tangible, not your gut instinct. But she's going off of her own sense of justice, and that guy, same thing. He was going off of uh, his own urges of justice. And I think they're going to be two peas in a pod
yeah,
in the new future.
yeah. So yeah, so it's been great. I love Stellan Skarsgård's great, his gravelly voice of just hating the
Oh, yeah.
Empire. So good. And I love that they brought back Genevieve O'Reilly. Again, I don't have the
Mm-hmm.
names memorized. I got the IMDb open. But, Genevieve O'Reilly, she got to be Mon Mothma in episode 3. And then
Yep.
she got to be Mon Mothma in Rogue One. And now she gets to be Mon Mothma. And Mon Mothma was always one of those characters that, I know in the Legends universe, there's so much written about her. But I didn't like, it's like you're 7 years old and you're watching Return of the Jedi, like, who's this redhead lady?
Who's this
like,
woman? Yeah,
like,
who's this random woman that's important?
who's this lady telling Luke Skywalker what to do? Like, nobody gets to tell Luke Skywalker what to do. It's like, oh, it's Mon Mothma. And again, you don't know, you just know her name.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we have this name that's goofy, like
Yeah.
Mon Mothma. What kind of name is that? Like,
Yeah.
who is this woman?
And
Yeah.
so getting to see, the fact that they, just some random actress hired for episode 3, and then she gets a little bit more to do in Rogue One. And now here she is. We get to see her story and how she, basically leads the rebellion. I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm excited for that.
And seeing and at first, of course, when when he has the meeting, and I'm like, oh look, I'm expecting Thor to show up because it's um, I'm like,
Eric
oh look, it's
Selvig.
what do you play, Eric,
Eric
whatever.
Selvig.
Yeah, Selvig. I'm like, oh look, it's Dr. Selvig. All right. Um, but what really got me was when uh he went to his gallery and he switched up and he put that wig on,
Yeah, yeah.
and I was like, okay, that was really entertaining. The
And,
way
like,
they
even
did
when
that,
like, you put all this stuff on and, like, you see him, like, practicing, like, putting, like so it's not just putting the costume back on, but it's, like, trying to, like, "I'm gonna smile now." Like, I gotta
right?
be this person. That yeah, that was I mean, that's just great acting.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun to
that
watch.
was, and it was for me. It was unexpected. I did not expect to see that. Um, I kind of figured that he was going to be some type of public, because you don't pay him to be in your show and not use him.
Yeah,
So I figured he was going to be some type of public guy, someone the public guy, but that was just a great job of just being clandestine there, in his conversation with the senator. Um, that was just I really enjoyed that. That was a very pleasant surprise, um, and to wrap it in a very comedic
yeah,
uh, format was even better, because Star Wars, for me, a lot of times when Star Wars tries to hit the comedy buttons, they kind of go over the top
mhm,
a bit, and this being really um, just a subtle chuckle laugh was just well hit, well delivered, and I really liked that. That was probably like my favorite part of episode 4. I was just, I was like, I gotta rewind this. This is
yeah.
good.
So good, and then yeah, and then just they're setting up a heist, and I love a heist. Like right, there's nothing better than and Rogue One was a heist movie, and so now this is a heist. So I'm so excited for episode 5. Like I hope the heist happens in the next episode. Like I really am. But it was just great. Like even setting up Andor with all those other rebels and how angry they are, and like and when the dude rode in on the speeder bike and you just hear the whine of it, oh my gosh, like
Hmm.
that's just the best. I so much of Ben Burt's sound design in Star Wars has totally defined the series. Like when
Oh
you
yeah,
hear a TIE fighter, it's like that's a TIE fighter. When you
that's a
hear a
TIE
speeder
fighter. Yeah,
bike,
you
and
hear
you're
that there's no other sound in sci-fi like it. Like that's a TIE fighter.
yeah,
Like other sci-fi has similar ship sounding when they go to warp speed or hyperspace or whatever.
uh-huh,
But you hear the scream of a TIE fighter, it's completely and it's completely distinguishable. Like you
yeah.
can't confuse that with anything else.
Yeah. So just hearing those sounds. So yeah. So I'm really I'm all in on this series. I think like I enjoyed the Mandalorian. I've probably been more critical of the Mandalorian than anybody else I know. Actually, I'm not fully drinking the Kool Aid on it. I think there's a lot of issues with it. I still really enjoy it. Boba Fett, same thing. But
Oh
I
no,
think
Boba Fett was Boba Fett was not even. I don't know if that was passable. That was rough. That was a rough watch
yeah. So,
for
but
me. But
this has been I'm totally like I'm like man, is it Thursday yet? Like, can I watch this?
well, last question for you here. Then on, do you anticipate that Andor will end at the beginning of Rogue One?
I hope so, right? If we just like if we see him on whatever shady planet that was trying to get the information and he kills that dude, like that'd be kind of fun to see, like just full circle. But that's a lot. I think they're committed to 3 seasons for Andor.
Okay.
Maybe 3. I know maybe at least 2. And so they've got 5 years to cover between, when it started to BBY before the Battle
To
of
be
Yavin.
okay.
So we'll see, but yeah, I think
So the series will probably end there,
yeah.
but
So I
definitely
think
not the season.
but that's kind of like right. It's not going to feel satisfying as a television series
Hmm.
because he's going to end in a place of not yet having his redemption. And so we'll
Right.
finish Andor and it'll be like, I don't know if I like this guy that much because he's kind of creepy and kind of weird. It's like he's killed a bunch of dudes and he's done a bunch of
Well,
stuff. And then
I
but then we'll get it in Rogue One.
but you know what? I'm looking at first. I was looking at him kind of like that, and partially because the actor doesn't have a lot of charisma.
Hmm.
But the more I thought about it, this is essentially not essentially, but in many ways, this is Burn Notice in space.
I know the
And
show, but I never watched it. So
yeah, so but the main character is a spy,
yeah.
and spies are essentially government criminals.
Uh-huh.
They kill people, they do bad things, they steal cars, they break stuff. Like they're not good people,
Yeah.
but they're still your protagonists. They're
Yeah.
doing bad things with good intention,
Mhm.
and that's essentially what Andor. That's what
Yeah.
Cassie is. That's what he is. So I think it's gonna have. I don't think people are gonna have a problem
Oh yeah. No.
rooting for him because it's essentially he's a spy who is out for revenge, and we know eventually at the end he's going to turn a corner and have his redemption moment. We're just seeing what's leading up to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it'll be great to watch and great to see. And yeah, you're right. I think I don't know, maybe Diego Luna has more charisma and he's just playing this character without it. Cause he just seems kind of like squirrely and mousy and like, I like him because I know what he's going to do, but I felt that way in Rogue One. I think maybe that's just how he plays the character.
And honestly, I kind of had forgotten about him from Rogue One because he's so like the character at least is so charisma lacking.
Huh.
So I was like, I remember when they announced the show, I'm like, who? Because I remember, because I remember Jin, and I remembered
A2SO.
Yeah, and I remember Donnie, and Donnie Yen's Donnie Yen. So like, there's no way I can forget Donnie Yen. Like, I'm a huge Donnie Yen mark, so it's like I'm not forgetting him. And then Forrest Whitaker and Mads Mikkelsen is there, and like everyone had this distinctive flair. Obviously, Vader is Vader, but even the guy that played the admiral that Vader was going tit for tat with, like everybody had their own flair, and he's just kind of just there. There's not much pop coming from him. So
Yeah.
I also have the same hope. I'm hoping like that either the background stuff or whatever they continue to show from him draws more personality out of the character, because right now he's a little boring. And honestly, I'm gonna admit I fell asleep during episode 3 because I was like, this dude is dry. I was like, dude, like I was like, man, I have to rewatch this before I talk to Scotty because like this dude's a little boring.
Well, they probably won't, but his little garbage compactor droid, they could bring him back too. He was cute.
I'm sure they will because it's Disney, and he was cute, and cute things sell toys.
Sell toys.
So
hey man,
why would you not?
I am all for my corporate overlords selling toys because that's what I always say, right? Like Disney, like. I mean, we talked about Disney World a little bit before we started recording, and I live in California, so go to Disneyland, obviously. And I know when I go there, I'm literally paying for the nostalgia that they're selling, and I'm buying toys because my kids saw a movie and they want those toys, which I get. But I think Disney understands that the best way to sell toys is to make something that's good. And so I think that's why I like Disney, is that they make really high quality things because they know high quality things will sell the most amount of toys. And I'm okay with that relationship into which I've entered with them, that you keep making good stuff and I'll keep buying my daughter Disney dresses because she wants to look like whatever princess she wants.
Whichever princess is out. Exactly.
Right now though, my son, like my daughter never got super into Mickey Mouse, but my son Joe's like super into Mickey Mouse right now. So we bought him a little Mickey Mouse Duplo train set and he loves it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I avoided Mickey with my kids because I never liked Mickey.
We weren't trying to avoid it or not, but like he found this Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, hot dog, diggity dog. But he found this, it's like Mickey Mouse Funhouse, and it's not nearly as educational, but he found like one episode. So we for his birthday, we went to Target and there was like this Mickey Mouse like pirate ship toy. He's like, I want that. It's like, we don't know what it is. But then we found the thing that it's based on. And so he doesn't want to watch anything but that one episode. I'm like,
that one episode.
That one episode that has the pirate ship that he has. So it's great.
That's cool. Now my younger ones watch Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, but being an old man, I made them watch the classic shorts. But I was always a Donald Duck guy. So they would watch classic Donald Duck shorts But they were never a big fan of Mickey. They preferred Donald or Goofy or
That's
Daisy.
really why you want to know what those kids are saying on that planet, because you want to know all the curse words that Donald was saying all those years. Like,
Right?
Like, I really want to know, like, how profane is Donald being right now? That's what
Donald. And one thing, Donald Duck wants all the smoke, and he is cussing you out left and right. Like he is terrible. But you gotta love him for it. But he is terrible.
Yeah.
Oh man. So that's a fantastic breakdown of Andor, Scotty. I appreciate that because you got me thinking about it differently than I initially was.
Wonderful.
Especially because my first walkthrough, like I said, man, I was like, this dude's boring, and I was starting to struggle. And like, there are certain characters in Star Wars, because I didn't go deep into the extended universe, and the stuff I did get into was more future stuff like Kyle Katarn. And I didn't really go in the back. Like, people are big fans of Thrawn and such. And I read the Thrawn book, Thrawn Ascendancy, and it was so boring. And I'm like, this dude is so boring. And I'm like, I don't understand why everybody loves this guy, because...
Did you read the original Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn?
I did not.
Okay, so I too did not read much of the expanded universe, but I think the Thrawn trilogy were the first books that Lucasfilm licensed to be written. So I think they're like the first Star Wars like extended universe novels. So Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, Last Command are great books. They're the ones that introduced Grand Admiral Thrawn. They're the ones that introduced Mara Jade. They're great.
Now you're the third person who repeat that to me, because I was in a book club podcast for Love Thy Nerd, and we read Thrawn Ascendancy. That was a book that was suggested by the group to read. So that was my intro to Thrawn, outside of seeing pictures of him in memes on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I was like, this dude's boring. Like, why would anybody care about this guy? But then I mentioned that, and people are like, oh, you have to read this trilogy, because that really shows who the character is and introduces all these people. I'm like, all right, I'll try to find time to read those books.
All I know about Grand Admiral Thrawn, and I love Grand Admiral Thrawn because of the Thrawn trilogy, Timothy Zahn's trilogy. So I remember
I'm gonna have to put that on my list.
When I think it was fourth grade, it came out, or fifth grade. My dad bought me Heir of the Empire. I think I still have like the 3 hardback. My dad bought it for me. Then the next year, he bought the next one. The next year, he bought the next one. And like I read them quickly. Those are ones I've reread multiple times because they're really good.
Oh, well, that's a recommendation. I'm gonna have to add that to my list then. See, now I added to your list. Now you added to mine. That's fair.
Fair is fair. And someday when we don't have any kids or grandkids and we actually get to do, like, it'll be great. Like, I'm just like, I hope Netflix is in heaven, because that's kind of what I want. It's just, a lot of time to glorify God and catch up on Attack on Titan.
There you go. Then we can have dads. Then we can talk anime. We can be dads who talk about anime as well.
Just angry dads complaining about the time we don't have. Oh,
right.
Look at this list, Matt. It just makes me sad looking at it. I got to turn it off. Did you watch Winning Time about the Lakers?
You know what? I did. And not the next episode, but the episode after that I had recorded, I talk about Winning Time with my friend Jewel, who was a big Lakers fan.
Okay. I'll go check that one out.
Winning Time had some issues, man. Oh man, I could go on about Winning Time, but I want to respect your time, my friend. But I would love to chat with you about Winning Time after that episode comes out and get your thoughts on it, because that was something else.
Yeah. Well, all I've heard is like, it's not very accurate, but gosh darn it, it is entertaining. Like, that's pretty much what I gleaned.
It was entertaining. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's entertaining. But as I'll say real quick, as someone has lifelong friends who are related to Irvin and Cookie Johnson, I can tell you that the news reports on how Irvin feels about it are 100% true. Okay. And how most of the Showtime Lakers spread how much they hate it is true. Like it went so off the rails in certain things. It was like, bruh, this what is going on? But I will definitely let you know when that episode comes out, so you can hear our collected thoughts on Winning Time, because it is, yeah, that was only HBO. Let's just put it like that. Only HBO is going to go that far. But listeners, that is going to be it for this episode of the original Jeek podcast.
Sorry you had me on your
blessed
show
to
and we go
have-
twice as long because I just keep talking.
No, Scotty, no, not at all. I mean, I'm looking at my timer and we are at 148, which is below my average when I have a guest on. My average is over 2 hours when I have a guest. So you are actually above average, better
it's
than
all
average.
thrown off for me because I record my episodes by myself and they're usually about 20 minutes. So anytime I'm recording for 2 hours, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is really long.
Right. I mean, when I do this show solo, it's about 30, 45 minutes. Because I would handle a couple topics, and I probably don't edit as much as you do. But no, this is well within great time. And no, I really appreciate you being here. So if you want to check out Scott's content, again, go to The Christian Nerd or christiannerd.com, and you can catch his blog posts. You can listen to his podcast, and you can subscribe to his podcast. I personally subscribe to it on Spotify. I know it's on Apple Podcasts and other formats as well. So definitely
anywhere you listen, just search The Christian Nerd and
just search The Christian Nerd, and you will find the one and only Scotty Higa. But for this show, for this episode 13 of season 5, I am your host, the original Jeek, Rocky Mr. Magic, and we want to thank you for listening. And we could not continue to do this show not without you who continue to support us. So please continue to do so by rating, reviewing the show on your podcasting app of choice. You can find us pretty much anywhere: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the like. And if you can't find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us directly on Facebook at Jeek Nation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut.
Come on, clap for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek podcast.